Hello guys, my name is Rios Correjos Luis, and today we're going to talk about sensors. So what are sensors? Sensors are basically devices which detect and responds some kind of input information which comes from the physical environment. So there's so many kinds of sensors that we see in our real life, like gas sensor, color sensor, alcohol sensor, touch sensor, race sensor, and so on. And each of these sensors are divided of types of sensors. So I'm going to explain you these types of sensors and each one of them give an example so we can understand it easier. So we're going to talk about the acoustic sensors. These sensors are basically devices which detect the frequency changes in waves. So it changes drastically every time and gets through all this crystalline structure. So we can see here an image which displays how this acoustic sensor works. So we have the sensor here, and depending on the input data that we get to them, I mean, can be our voices, like this example for this microphone, which depending how closer we are on these devices, probably is going to get more waves of frequency. So this is basically the acoustic sensor. So the next one is the optical sensor. The optical sensor converts light into electronical signals. Well, the purpose of this optical sensor is to measure the physical quantity of the light. So there are many examples of this optical sensor, but basically one of them is the new ones, the smart lights, which depends on the emptiness of light is going to turn on the light. So there's example of much the easier example about this optical sensor. So we have here the mechanical sensors. To put it simple down, this sensor, it converts heat, light, motion, and sound into electronical signals, which these electronical signals gets passed all through but it gets through all the interfaces to be finally processed by a computer. So once the computer retrieves that information, it sends that information again to the output of the sensor and finally giving an answer. So an example of this mechanical sensor could be the temperature measure, the temperature sensor that we can see here. Depending on the heat of our body or the temperature of the human body is going to send us an answer, which can be that we have a problem with our temperature, like fever or other disease. So finally, the biomechanical sensors. These sensors allow us uh, to monitor our physical magnitudes such as acceleration, inclination, the position of the human body. So they can start out to do some other tests. Mostly are for medicine, on the camp of medicine. So we can see here an example for of this biomechanical sensors that we can see here, like the headphones, microprocessors, sensor connection. So they can detect all the human movement. Most of them can be used, for example, are for building games, real life games. So use different kind of actors, persons who can be like the characters of that video game. So this could be one of the main applications that we can see on the biomechanical sensors.